Hey guys, this is Red and Blue, your channel on YouTube for all things PSG in English. Please subscribe. Today, we've got the game against Angers, which is in a couple of hours. I think we're all set for this one. If you haven't seen it, go check out the preview videos that I did yesterday. I think everything is in there. The only bit of news that we got today is that Kvara is going to be missing out on this game. Apparently, he's got a tiny muscular thing, and so they're not taking any risk with him. So probably just substitute Kvara with Barcola in the starting 11, but everything else should stay the same. So yeah, go check this out. I'll link it right there. But today, I think it's been a few days since we talked mercato, and there's quite a few things to talk about. So I just wanted to do a little bit of one of those videos where I just go through everything, every bit of information that's been going on, and we can just talk through it. And I think the big one was a few days ago. There was an article in Le Parisien in which they said PSG mercato is closed, which is kind of a surprise. It kicked off a lot of debate in French media. Is PSG really, should they be done? Do they need more players? What are they missing? What do they have? And so on and so forth. We also got a tweet from PSG insider Jamel on X/Twitter, who's, is the Uber PSG influencers up there. So his information is usually really, really good. And for him, what he was saying is that mercato is not closed necessarily, but for now, PSG is focused on offloading the excess players that we have in the squad. And so that's mostly what we're going to be talking about today. And I think towards the end, we can talk about what comes next and whether, there's any last minute moves. I guess we're about 10 days to the end of the mercato. But any last minute moves that PSG might be looking at. So in terms of departure, I'll start with Renato Sanches, because I think that's the one that's been making headlines in the past couple of days and today. Essentially, it's going back and forth between Panathinaikos in Greece and Trabzonspor in Turkey. And yeah, 2 days ago, it was a done deal with Panathinaikos. Renato Sanches is going there. And then yesterday was hold on. Actually, not Panathinaikos. The player is going to Trabzonspor, and it's a done deal. And then today we're back to it and back to Panathinaikos. So the latest information from today, from literally hours ago, is that the player is expected in Athens today to go through his medical. We're looking at a loan with an option to buy, an option that would be €9 million. His salary will be essentially the way it works, that the salary will be paid for supposedly by Panathinaikos, but it will depend on how much time he actually plays. So if he's injured the whole season, PSG will be paying for his salary. If he plays a lot of games, Panathinaikos is paying for it. And I think the big question mark at this point is, will he be able to go through the medical? And, the Greek side have hinted that they'll be very, very scrupulous about it and take a good hard look at him. So we'll see, but hopefully he can make it through. He has never failed a medical so far in his career, which for a player who's been injured so much is just crazy. So we'll see. Kind of keep your fingers crossed on this one, but he might be on his way out. Next one, Marco Asensio. He was on loan with Aston Villa for the second half of last season. Aston Villa initially didn't want to keep him. Now they kind of got back to it. They're actually working on a deal with PSG. We're looking at a relatively low fee for the player. We don't know exactly what that's going to be, but essentially that's the only way of offloading him. Aston Villa, though, their priority right now is to finalize Nicolas Jackson from Chelsea that they want to bring over. It's around an €80 million deal, so it's a big one. So they're focusing on that. But the Asensio deal is still in the works, and so hopefully that's something that will get finalized before the end of mercato. And that should be a transfer, not a loan. So that even with a low fee, that'd be pretty good. Next one, Soler. Soler, so he was on loan with West Ham last season. It went so and so. the main club that's been interested for him has been Villarreal since the beginning. He's very keen. It's his area of Spain. He knows the coach. He's definitely like up for it, except they don't have any money. Which is kind of an issue. They've been playing the clock a little bit, hoping to get to the end of the mercato. And if PSG doesn't have any better options, they can get the player for cheap. But there is actually a lot of interest that's getting mentioned now for the player. So in the Premier League, we've heard Brighton and Wolverhampton are looking at the player, and another team that hasn't really, we don't know which one. And then the big news from the last couple of days that Ajax in Amsterdam was looking at the player, was very interested, would do a loan with an option to buy and would pay his full salary, which is great for us. And obviously, it's quite an attractive option, I guess, for a player like Soler. There's other clubs in Spain that might be interested. We talked about Atletico Madrid a few days/weeks ago. In a manner which isn't entirely convincing. They're looking at a loan with no option to buy, so it's not really that interesting for us. Sevilla might also be looking at the player, but we don't have a lot of details there. But yeah, one way or the other, it sounds like there's quite a few options on the table. In the end, he's not a bad player, just not like PSG caliber. And so, he could be successful in a lot of those clubs. So hopefully he finds something good and we can agree with them. Probably a loan, hopefully with option to buy, hopefully with the club that he goes to, picking up the tab of his salary. But yeah, one way or the other, hopefully a player we should be able to offload as well. Next one. The frustrating one. you know who I'm talking about. Let's talk about our friends in Juve and Randal Kolo Muani. The deal is still not done. So tired of these guys. Mercato needs to end. We've been talking about this one with Juve since before the Club World Cup. It's been like a lifetime. They're still keen to keep the player. They do have a deal with him in terms of contract, so that's there's been progress there. They do have a deal with us in terms of how much would the loan cost them. So it would be a 10 million upfront fee for the year of loan. And then the conversation right now is how much are they going to pay if the option to buy gets triggered. And if you remember last episode, the option to buy now is actually would get triggered if Juventus qualifies for the Champions League. So it's relatively easy and straightforward, and hopefully should happen. And so we're negotiating. Juve is talking 35-40 million euro. PSG is talking about 45-50. So there's still a little bit of a gap. Both clubs are talking. One of these days, I guess it's gonna happen. Player wants to go, and yeah, Juventus on their end, it's there was some news in the media that they were waiting for Douglas Luiz to be sold to Nottingham Forest, which I think has happened now. And so that money could help Juventus finalize the Kolo Muani deal. We'll see, because Juventus is still looking at 12 other players, and they're talking to Zegrova of Lille. So they're kind of doing a lot of business on the side as well. But yeah, hopefully this gets finalized, before we're old and gray. One of these days, before Kolo Muani retires, hopefully we can finalize this one. Next one, the big guy, Donnarumma. So Donnarumma on his way out. He's training with the squad, but he's not playing in games. So it's been made very clear to him that he doesn't have a future in PSG with Chevalier here. And what we've heard so far is that he's already got a deal in place for a contract with Man City. Apparently, they had been talking for the past 3 months. So so much for this coming as a shock and surprise. But yeah, so the deal is in place, and it's a question for Man City of offloading Ederson, which Brazilian goalkeeper who wants to do something different. And so it's a question of what happens there. Ederson is being looked at by Galatasaray in Turkey. Galatasaray made the first offer for him of 10 million pounds, 10 million euro. I'm not sure, but 10 million. It's not a big difference anyway. City wants 25. So there is a delta here, to the point where Galatasaray is also looking at Jan Sommer of Inter as a potential backup plan. They're even apparently looking at Safonov, but like I find that strange. So we'll see, but apparently Man City will only go for Donnarumma if Ederson gets out. They want to get some money back for Ederson. Galatasaray has relatively deep pockets this mercato window. We'll see what happens. I could see even like, a more complicated path forward where Jan Sommer of Inter goes to Galatasaray and then Inter goes in for Ederson. Could very well happen as well. Wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. So we'll have to stay tuned. I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes to the bell of the end of the mercato. I think it's complicated, but the fact that he already has a contractual agreement in place, it looks relatively good. I'll knock on wood, but yeah, it should be doable to finalize this deal. But a lot of it is not in our hands. Otherwise, Donnarumma has been talked about for Man United as well. It'd be a question of whether they can get rid of their goalkeeper as well. So yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted, but this one might be a doozy and go to the 31st of August. Next one, last one I want to talk about, Kang In Lee. The club actually put it out in the media that, it's like, weird mercato media play. Essentially, I saw a couple of articles about this, but like one piece of news saying PSG is not completely close to selling Kang In Lee, but they're asking for a big price, and apparently the price tag would be somewhere between 40 and 50 million euro, which is big money for a player. I think we picked him up for like 20 million, so we'd be basically doubling our money for a player who's a substitute and not the first substitute either. At the same time, the market for him is in the UK anyway, and like English team have big pockets and they're crazy, so why not? There's no reason. I mean, if I look at a club like a Tottenham, for example, or I look at Aston Villa, they've got money. They've got money. Sunderland, who just got promoted from the Championship, they've already spent, I think, 200 million euro. So literally, like even the smallest club in the UK, they've got money. So why not? Arsenal is apparently looking at a replacement because Kai Havertz got injured again. Tottenham, apparently they're looking at Akliouche and Rodrigo, but they could very well be looking at Kang In Lee as well. So there are options, and not with bad clubs either. So 40, 50 million, yeah, it's a big price tag, but at the same time, like, why not? And it doesn't prevent us from cutting a deal in the end at 30 million plus bonus or something like this if we want to. So we'll have to see. The player is also thinking, and I'm getting a feeling of a lot of back and forth, of not a lot of clarity on each side. I think everyone is playing poker a little bit, and the club doesn't want to be too harsh with the player, doesn't want to show him the door in any way, but at the same time, like, isn't really closed off. The player is not completely sold on staying, especially as a substitute, but doesn't really have a lot of very clear options either. So yeah, it's a little bit of poker. We'll see what happens. I think I'll give it even odds in terms of Kang In Lee going out or staying in. And I think that's the one ultimately, like, going back to what I said at the beginning of the video, that's the one that will decide if PSG mercato is over or not. I think if Kang In Lee goes, we will get a replacement for him. If Kang In Lee stays, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't buy anyone else. And I think if he goes, there's two names which are top of the list, which we've been talking about for a long, long time. The first one is actually Akliouche of Monaco, who, like I just mentioned, is being looked at by Tottenham. There were rumors earlier about Bayer Leverkusen in Germany. I think in general, like, the price tag from Monaco is pretty high, but the player is keen for PSG, so it could happen. I think it'd be a tough last-minute negotiation. So I'm not super optimistic about it, regardless of what happens with Tottenham. Monaco wants 70 million euro for him, and I think honestly, like, the value of the player is probably somewhere closer to 40-50 million. So we'll see, but yeah, like, he's definitely going to be an option. The other option, which day after day after day, this mercato window, for some reason, everyone talks about, I think more than anything, the fans are super keen, is Rodrigo Moura of Porto, who's having a difficult start of the season. The new coach in Porto apparently doesn't really play with second number 9/number 10. So that's really, like, there's not really a spot for him in the Porto team. At the same time, Porto needs money. So he's apparently he's being not quite offered, not quite on the transfer list, but definitely the door isn't closed. He's going to release close at 70 million euro, but I don't think he would cost anywhere near that amount of money. I think, given the way the mercato is going, wouldn't be surprised to see him go for like 45-50 million plus bonuses, something like this. And yeah, given our Portuguese connection, given what kind of player Luis Enrique likes, given Luis Campos, I wouldn't be surprised, if we sell Kang In Lee, we go for this guy and just get him in. We'll see, but yeah. And finally, like, before I close this video, a last bit of information. Our youngster and TT Noham Kamara has signed his first professional contract yesterday. So he's under contract with PSG until June 2028. He's a right-footed centre-back. He was part of a Club World Cup squad. So Luis Enrique has had a lot of time to see him in training. He hasn't played in games, but he's featured in training with the pro squad. He's talked about as a pretty talented central defender. I think he had one game in Ligue 1 last season. So he's starting to be seen. I expect he's going to get more game time this year, even if with Zabarni arriving, there's a little bit more competition in this, right-footed centre-back space of central defense. So we'll see, but yeah, good news. TT signing a professional contract. I'm always happy. Let's get him to train with the pro. Let's get him to play in some Ligue 1 matches. Why not tonight? Who knows? Maybe against Angers, he'll get to celebrate his contract by getting some playing time. I think it'd be great, and hopefully, it's a player that we can watch develop over the coming years with the PSG jersey. So happy days. Cool. That's what I had for you guys today in terms of Mercato update. I tried to go through the list of all of the players who are being talked about. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Let me know what you think of all of this. And yeah, let me know, do you think PSG Mercato closed or not? Like, what's your opinion on this? Do you think, do you think we will? Do you think we should? I think there are two very distinct questions. So let me know in the comments. Please drop a like on this video. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified of future videos. And don't forget, ici c'est Paris!